The 2024 schedule for Auburn football is official now. We are going to react to it, offer our opinions, and of course, we want to hear from you. That's what you have in store for this reaction stream here at E2C Network. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As opened up with on this stream, this is a reaction live stream, mainly just giving initial thoughts, reactions to some big event breaking news. This time, the 2024 Auburn football schedule, and by proxy, the 2024 SEC schedules as well, while we're going to focus most of our attention on Auburn football in this reaction stream. Love for you to start off every stream the same way as we always do, by smashing that like button. Of course, do that to help the stream get out to other people. We'd love to have more people join in here on this live portion. You can also do that on the replay, and you can also do this live replay, however you got here. Make sure you post right now where you're watching from, your city, your state. If you're international, do that as well. We don't know who's here hanging out from where with us for this reaction stream. Last bit of housekeeping stuff for this stream, especially for those of you watching live. You know that normally Wednesday nights we go live at 8, not 7:45 basically at this point, but 8 for a call-in show. That will not be happening tonight because a basketball game will be starting very shortly. We're going to take this stream pretty much all the way up to that point, maybe a little beyond if we have some great discussions. So that's what you can anticipate tonight. This will take the place of the Auburn Family live stream call-in show tonight, but we will do a post-game stream for basketball right after that. So with that being said, the table has been set. You know the drill. Let's get into it. What are your initial reactions for the 2024 Auburn football schedule? 2 bye weeks, folks. Interesting. Well, I guess maybe it wasn't 2 bye weeks. I guess it was, but it's interesting to see how this schedule laid out. I'm still processing exactly what I think about it. It looks like the middle of the schedule is going to be a lot more favorable this year than it was for Auburn. We talked a lot about the gauntlet of 2023 of Auburn having to face Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, and then you could count Ole Miss in that as well, the way they were playing at the time. Just a brutal stretch for the Auburn Tigers. It does not look that they are going to have that to struggle with this time around. But if you want, just for initial reactions, initial thoughts, before we get some of y'all's commentary, let me bring it up on the screen. It will cover us up a little bit so you can guys get it in full view here. If I can find it in my stack set. Here we go. This is the graphic from Auburn University. Excuse me. First game of the week or of the year on week 1. Alabama A&M will be at, I'm going to pull it up on my screen over here so I can look at it a little bit closer for my purposes too. Alabama A&M will be August 31st at home. Week 2, Cal at home, September 7th. Week 3, September 14th, the New Mexico Lobos, not New Mexico State. I know that triggers everybody these days. New Mexico Lobos. Week 4, September 21st, 4 games in a row at this point. The Arkansas Razorbacks open up SEC play, and weirdly enough to say this, week 5 SEC play continues. And the 5th game in a row, Oklahoma comes to town for the I guess it would be for the first time. And then we get on the road to play Georgia, at Missouri, at Kentucky. And amongst all of that is a bye week. We then get into November in week 9. Well, it would be week 9 for us, week 10 at that point. Welcoming back Vanderbilt, then a bye week, and then we'll play La Mo at home and Texas A&M at home, and then Alabama in the last week, the Iron Bowl, as it should be, on rivalry weekend. So there you have it, folks, your official 2024 schedule. And we'll bring it back up and reference it a few more times. What is the big thing that sticks out to you initially from that? Is it where a certain game fell? Is it where a game didn't fall? Is it the fact that we have 2 bye weeks, let me say this in general about the SEC college football schedule. I was doing some preemptive looking at trying to figure this out myself several weeks ago. And I said, it would make sense for them to start on August 31st, but it also would make sense for them not to, and not to have to do 2 bye weeks. Here we are. Stretch that thing out as long as you can and make the money, I guess is what it is. I haven't said hello to any of the folks yet, so let me do that. We got Jonathan, Linda, Noah, Demarius, Devin's also here checking in with us. Cody, Deshaun, BVK. Thank you guys so much for being here live. Devin says, interesting that we don't have a cupcake before the Iron Bowl. Not sure how I feel about that, but Bama doesn't either, so I guess fair is fair. I think what you saw is a lot of complaints about that week, not just from Auburn, but people saying that it was one of the most boring weeks in college football because we're all sitting there waiting for rivalry weekend, and basically every SEC team, minus a few, was playing no game of significant consequence other than Auburn. So that is, probably why you saw that change. There is about 4 teams, I think, playing non-conference rinky-dink opponents, but we'll play them elsewhere. I don't mind it, to be honest with you. We're used to having 2 good teams smashed together at the end of the year. They moved Georgia to the kind of beginning of the year. So that's, I guess, kind of a good thing. Thomas is on Facebook. What's up, Thomas? Thomas, you are all over the place. I see you on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the places, but good to see you. Deshaun, I think, is being funny. The New Mexico game is going to be interesting. Why? Because you don't want to get swept by the state of New Mexico State in a calendar year of New Mexico, not New Mexico State, New Mexico in a calendar year. It is interesting to see a team of similar name be there that just literally handed us our most embarrassing loss, probably in program history. That's probably a lot of hyperbole, but it's kind of how it feels, doesn't it? I knew you were being pretty funny on that one. But let's bring this bad boy up here again and just kind of take another quick look at everything and kind of get some initial reactions again from the athletic department. Alabama A&M was the only opponent that I believe wasn't announced. At least I didn't see it listed anywhere on any websites. So that it was the only piece of the puzzle that wasn't clear outside of dates. We knew Lamo was going to be here. We knew Oklahoma was coming in. We even knew in the Georgia and Alabama game were going to be the New Mexico game, the Cal game. That was really the only piece here. What's interesting to me is, yet again, we are having every other year this big stretch at home. And I mean, it is going to be hot. It is going to be unbearable at times, but A&M, Cal, New Mexico, they're going to be used to it. Arkansas and Oklahoma through the hot stretch of September. And then we're basically not going to be, we won't actually be in, I'm looking a little bit closer here to make sure I don't make a mistake. We will not be in Jordan-Hare for the month of October. And to me, to be honest with you, that is my biggest gripe. Why on earth would we have not one single game in the week of October? If I'm going to gripe about something, that's what I'm going to gripe about. We need to have a game in October in Jordan-Hare. Move something around. That's all I'm going to say. That's what grinds my gears. WT, good to see you. Cody says, Oklahoma, really? What do you mean, Oklahoma, really? Give me some context here. Michael, Megan, good to see all of you fine folks checking in here. We're just reacting, offering some commentary on the part of this schedule. So, opening weekend, and we're going to try to take this all the way up to the start of the basketball game for you live folks. Opening weekend, Alabama A&M. Obviously, these days we don't really count anything as a given against teams that we should beat, but that should be a win. I don't know that Cal is going to be ready for what they're going to experience in Jordan-Hare. And as much as they gave us a run for their money last year in their place, I think they're going to truly see what SEC football is about. So that I don't really worry about that one as much. I know it seems odd to say it at this point, but I don't worry too much about the New Mexico game. Arkansas, it'll be interesting to see if getting Petrino back over there gets them going. If it does, that could be a little bit of a dangerous game. The hardest stretch that I see on there thus far, and it's a small one, but I'm going to bring it up just so I can kind of cue myself again. Oklahoma and Georgia. Now, thankfully, you will have a bye week at the end of that stretch, but that's Auburn's toughest combined stretch, that they're one home, one away. I mean, throw Arkansas in there too. You got Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Georgia. That'll be the toughest stretch for Auburn. A far cry from a tough stretch that was this last season. And then you're just going to Missouri, to Kentucky, coming back to Vanderbilt, got Lamo. If Auburn's been through the gauntlet again at that point, that'll be a really nice change of pace for them to have to play all that. And then you'll end the year on a high note at Texas A&M. I will say, for those of you that maybe want the rinky-dink game to be the week before the Iron Bowl, were you really that excited about it? Don't you want to have a game that's kind of exciting as your last one in Jordan-Hare for the season? To me, having Texas A&M there, it's kind of perfect, to be honest with you. And if that moves back the same way to the next year's schedule in 2025, it's a good kind of last road game too for me. I think that would be a good yin and yang there of swapping that back and forth. Cody says, why play them so early? Well, that's the SEC office's job to finagle all of this, so they have their reasons. Frankly, it doesn't really matter when they're going to be here. It's going to be a tough game no matter what. I guess maybe you could make the case, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, maybe swap going. I keep taking it down for myself and I need to reference it. Instead of going at Missouri in October, switch Oklahoma for there and go on your first road game. If ifs and buts for candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, you know? I'm going to gripe with you about the no home games in October. It will just be the weirdest thing ever. It seems like every other year we do this. No home games in October, and I cannot for the life of me understand why. Hope those first games are at night so we don't burn up. Well, here's the difference, though, Lynn. You're going to burn up regardless because you'll be tailgating all day, even if they are at night. I would have loved to have seen one of those bye weeks moved into like the week 4 spot. I think you will probably see the Oklahoma game be a night game. At least the Cal game will probably be a night game just so they can get their audience in on it. And maybe either New Mexico or Alabama A&M. I have a feeling New Mexico will be the late game there. We'll probably be starting early for our first game of the year. So get ready for that. I hope not, because that will be kind of a bummer of a first tailgating weekend. 11 o'clock kickoffs. Basically, you just can't tailgate at all unless you just kind of wanted to get the game out of the way and then come back and tailgate the rest of the day. Either way, it's going to be warm. It's going to be hot. So there you go. What other thoughts about the schedule, other SEC schedules do you have, if any? I'd love to take any commentary, any thoughts on those particular things. When you look at the schedule, this is a reaction show. What do you see in terms of a record? What are your opinions about that? What do you think Auburn can do? I always start off with the assumed operation that Auburn is always capable of winning 8 games, an 8-4 season, given the fact that they're in the SEC. But what do you guys think? If you look at the schedule, you're always going to throw into question Alabama and Georgia, not just because they're better than us right now, because it's Alabama and Georgia. They're rivalry games. LSU probably would have been one of those as well. You typically throw into question, maybe swap that with Oklahoma right here. Outside of that, you've got Arkansas and Texas A&M, which, given the state of their programs right now, may be more up in the air. This is a really favorable schedule for Auburn football. I'm not going to lie. It is not an easy schedule, but it is not the hardest schedule that they've had to face, even given their road schedule that they'll have with Alabama and Georgia. You're going to Missouri, you're going to Kentucky. So that's pretty favorable in my book. So I'm going to say right now, I'm feeling like a 9-win season is possible, given some improvements on offense. But that's not an official prediction. That's just kind of a gut reaction to this schedule right now. Alabama, Georgia, and Oklahoma being in question is an obvious, right? 8 wins needs to be the floor for us next year. I don't know that I would say floor, but I would say that is kind of like the average. You're meeting expectations if you go to, maybe that's what you meant, but go to the 8-win category there. 8-4 should start 5-0. Should is the operative term there. The Iron Bowl will be hard to come by this year. Well, it was hard to come by this past year, with tickets and stuff like that. But in Tuscaloosa, yeah, it's always a hard ticket to get to. Yeah, we all wish this, but unfortunately, right now that's not going to be fixed. Hopefully, when the next set of SEC schedules comes out, probably what they'll do again is release the home and away matchups, mid-season again, and then do the full release of like dates like they're doing now once the postseason has started, which there's not a bad way to go about doing that. We'll probably know if they have decided to keep the Auburn-Georgia rivalry. And folks, let me point this out to you. This could be the last year that Auburn and Georgia play on an annual basis. You know that, right? Have you wrestled with that? Have you rationalized that? I hope not. I believe they can find a way to make it work, but it could be the final year of the annual Deep South's oldest rivalry. Let's pray they figure out a way to get that done. All right, we're about less than 5 minutes from the tip-off. We may go a little bit longer than that for those of you that are wanting to watch/listen to that game. We will be doing the same thing, but we may hang around just a few minutes extra. But hope you can come after the game to our post-game stream to talk about that. But we want to finish up some commentary here about Auburn's 2024 schedule. Let's see here. If you go to the Auburn first game versus Alabama A&M, watch how Buck Wild, their head coach, be acting. Well, I don't know who that is, but I will take your word at it. Listen, I love when we play the in-state Alabama teams because I think it helps the state a lot, and I love seeing them kind of rotate through here. It does put us at a little bit of risk. Alabama typically doesn't do that, so I'm happy to see them as part of our schedule. Not afraid at all. The question is, how many losses will it take to make the 12-team playoff? I don't know that that's a solid answer you can give. I mean, I feel like 2 is the floor on that one in the SEC because you're going to have, well, I don't know. You think about it. That's a good question. We'll have to think through that a little bit, but the 12-team playoff, the SEC expanding, the other teams expanding. This is going to be a weird year, folks. Weird year. And it's only going to get more different the year after that when we change schedules up again. I choose to not think of being the last of the Deep South's oldest rivalry playing every year. Well, you might need to prepare yourself for that just in the off chance they decide to break all of our hearts, including the Georgia fans, as much as we dislike them. All right. This has been a reaction stream, so mainly not a lot of concrete analysis here. We're just getting out our first thoughts and opinions. Keep them coming here. I'll take some final comments and questions and stuff. But again, we do want to, for those that are watching live, get done in enough time for everybody to watch the basketball game. So keep those. If you got some other opinions about this schedule, I'll bring it up onto the screen one more time for you guys to take a real quick look at whether you like a date. Is there any trap games on there for Auburn? What do you think? Look through that real quickly. Also, would love for you, I'm going to bring it up and down real quick. Join us for our post-game stream. Auburn versus UNC Asheville. We'll be talking after that game, post-game stream this evening. But keep looking at that schedule for any commentary you might have about that. Always check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support us. You need to be subscribed. Got a new recruit video out for you guys today. We're trying to get back in the swing of things and giving you more regular content, not just here at YouTube, but everywhere. The TikToks, the Facebooks, the X's, the Instagrams, everywhere. All right. LSU and Georgia are traps. Cody, we're not playing LSU, so that's not a trap. I don't know that, Cody, you understand the definition of a trap game. A trap game is one that you're expected to win, but maybe you're not taken as seriously. Now, not as something as drastic as the New Mexico State is a trap game, but you would say like Arkansas is a trap game. Something else is like on your mind. You would say that Arkansas is a trap game because you're at home, you're feeling comfortable, and you've got this big matchup versus Oklahoma the next week. That might be a trap game. Texas A&M could be considered a trap game. You're at home, even with that advantage, but then you've got the Iron Bowl next week. That's usually when we talk about trap games. So if you're asking me, if I'm posing the question to myself, what are the trap games on this schedule for Auburn just initially? I think Arkansas could be one. I think Missouri could be one, or just maybe even not just taking for granted that Kentucky is not the pushover that they used to be. But probably the easiest ones to make a case for would be Arkansas and A&M, with Oklahoma following Arkansas and Alabama following Texas A&M. So initial rounding out conclusions, reactions to this schedule reveal. For me, disappointing that there are no home games in October. I don't like that we have 2 bye weeks. I would have much rather them started a week later and only had 1. I would have swapped, and I feel like I'm just giving all gripes at this point. I would have swapped, say, Kentucky or Missouri away game into earlier in the season and moved up Oklahoma into October to kind of spice things up a little bit, because that is going to be what should be an easier stretch for Auburn. But outside of that, you get Cal at home, Oklahoma at home. You can have Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt, and then the other smaller games. Auburn's going to have a fun and entertaining season, and we'd love to continue to hear your thoughts about it down in the comment section, especially if you're now catching the replay of this. Once again, join us after the basketball game for a live stream talking about that. We appreciate you all being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And we're looking forward to breaking down this schedule and many, many more things here on this channel when we get back together with you again very soon. Till then, War Eagle.